You a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to this week's edition of, well, I guess it's not this week's edition, but it's instant reactions to Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Episode 1 on the Multiverse Report. I'm doing the intro because Mike hasn't seen it, and, well, if you're looking at what says Mike Gibson on the screen and watching the stream, there's someone who's not Mike Gibson. That is our good friend Collin Kohberger, who is guesting tonight as he is quite the Lord of the Rings aficionado. How are we doing, Collin?
I wouldn't go that far. I'm doing great. I wouldn't great. I don't know about aficionado, but...
Well, you know, knowledgeable in the ways of Middle-earth.
I'm a fan.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah. As this is a reaction podcast, I guess I'll just go with the first question to you.
Yes.
And that's the only question I had is, what are your general thoughts on what you just saw?
Well...
Like high level. We're going high level here. We'll dig in.
Really high level. Yeah, we'll dig in. Okay. My initial thought about 10 minutes in was, where did the $1 billion go? Some of the visuals were great and promising in the beginning, I think. I think the initial
Galadriel heading north type.
That kind of when they were doing the prologue to what to this prologue, when they were talking about I guess the first age and the battling Morgoth and where the battle where Finrod died. I don't remember the name of it.
The montage.
Yeah. There where one of the
was it when the Balrog showed up and
one of the wraiths,
or yeah,
not the wraiths, but the like the things that they're riding there, grabs one of the eagles and it gets immolated in fire, and I'm like, and the battle looked epic and big. That was really, really cool. So I was like, okay. And then it would cut to a scene where they're so clearly on a soundstage and I just get sucked right out of it. And as I continued to watch, I couldn't get that thought out of my head.
Oh, okay.
And maybe like I was just too inundated with the marketing and the number. Like, this
right. When you say $500,000 is spent on this,
time,
yeah,
I'm like, all right. It's like we were just talking about Brian Regan before we got started, but he's got another bit about like, if you're charging me $1,000 a plate, every bite of food better be like, oh my God, that is the greatest thing I've ever tasted in my life. And then the second bite is, oh my God. If you're going to spend that much money to make a television show, it should be visually stunning, and I wasn't stunned in the least. Like, so it was good,
right?
And it also could be a product of just trying. Like, everything looks great now, so to stand out from where we are just technologically can be very difficult. I understand, but like, I didn't see it. And
okay.
So that was like my first reaction watching was, oh, that looks cool. Oh, that looks terrible. Oh, that looks cool. Oh, ew.
Okay, so it was like the certain cuts took you very much out of what you were watching.
Right out of it.
Okay.
I instantly felt like I was just watching a TV show and checking my phone and just like feeling like I was watching just
like The Flash or Arrow or something, like CW show.
CW.
Yeah,
exactly. It's exactly what it felt like.
Okay.
A lot.
See, and that's weird because yesterday I said I did the failed reaction pod yesterday. Anyone who actually listened to that, good luck to you. But I on it I said, I can see like there were, I guess I took the highs for the highs and the lows didn't hit me. And I think the more this is happening, the more I'm thinking, I don't know if it's a general apathy for me and I don't care about the lows, because now that you've said it, I won't be able to unsee it, because as soon as you said the soundstage thing, I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
But in my head, I was remembering, I was doing what they want you to do and remembering the, the flashy and the action sequences and all that.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, they fought a snow troll, which looked oddly like a cave troll. Weird.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I get where you're coming from, where some of the actual, a lot of times you want them to use practical effects because it adds something. And in this case, it almost detracted from it.
Yeah.
Like the shots where they were practically all standing next to each other, it felt like with some of the Marvel and Star Wars stuff where they're using this volume where it's like you can tell they're just in a room with the scenery behind
Yeah.
them.
You feel like you could almost pause the movie and draw a line very easily around
Right.
what's real and what isn't, and that shouldn't happen. And it sucks you right out. It's like I think you make a good point. Like you can't unsee it once you've seen it. And
Right.
I've been seeing it for 5 years. So I don't know. I don't have a solution for it, but it takes me out of it. But like the visual, but in to my earlier point, the visual aspect of it isn't the thing. Like it was my initial reaction,
Right.
um, but eventually you just kind of gotta get over that kind of stuff. Because then you just like you end up with like Multiverse of Madness or something, where it is literal madness. Just
Right.
it's insane the entire time. You're like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. So maybe is that better? I don't know. I don't think so. Where like it's so crazy and it's so over affected that you just don't know what you're looking at half the time. So it's like this is good. It's like they're trying to hypnotize you. Um, but beyond that, like the visual stuff, the it didn't feel like Tolkien at all to me. It
Okay. See, and I
it's
know I've read through the Silmarillion. I know you've been,
yeah.
you've been immersed in it a little bit more than I have. Um, so for me, it felt Jacksony, but I guess I could see if it makes sense that it felt Jacksony but not Tolkien-y.
You could definitely see where they were like, let's try to make this look like Peter Jackson's trilogy, and because
Right.
people like that, right?
The visuals,
And
especially like the Valinor shots, and like Valinor
yeah,
looked like Rivendell on steroids, and
and yeah,
various other.
Lyndon is the
Yep.
same. Like when Finrod's coming over the hill,
Hmm.
and you get that big sweeping shot uh, of the capital there, and you're just like, oh wow, yeah, that's very much like Minas Tirith or something. When you get that first
Right.
big wide shot of that, cool. Um, some of those visuals, fine, but um, the the way, especially the elves are portrayed, is not the way they're written. Like they are treated, they're brought down to me. Like whereas in the Lord of the Rings, it's the third age. It's like everything is diminishing. Like every age, things get worse and worse and worse, right?
Right.
Um, which is why the elves are leaving in the third age. And so in the second age, the elves in general should be of almost even a higher power, more of an angelic feel to them as they do in even in the third age. And when you're looking at them and there's no long hair, like they all got short haircuts. There's no long hair. There's no like etherealness to them. They kind of talk to each other almost like it's 2020, like human beings would
Right.
talk to each other. And like the scene where Arondir and his I don't know, partner
Is
guy, like
Yep. Yeah.
whoever that guy is, like they're just bickering at each other. I'm like, this isn't this isn't Elven, to me in the way that I would want to elicit Elven culture
Well, but at
on
the
screen.
same
Which
time, that to in my brain, it was like that the elves were the dominant, like they were everywhere. I mean, you could tell from the whole Arondir arc that even if people didn't want them there, they were ruling over everything and
hmm
kind of omnipresent. And it's like, is there almost that casualness because there's no, in the third age, you've got the elves that are left, and they're high and mighty above everything, and what we see is kind of them secluded and, keeping to themselves and doing their thing and just kind of being a bit haughtier. Whereas in the Second Age, they're kind of everywhere. And it's like, would that be a more casual society where they're not so high and tight?
Yeah, it's difficult to tell. I think it's a tone issue. It's like, and that might be an issue that I was noticing just in the first couple of episodes, where like, what tone is this? What are you trying to be? Like the elves in The Hobbit. If you read The Hobbit, it's childish and it's very. They are more kind of cartoony, and they get drunk and fall asleep, and that's how Bilbo gets away, all that. In the Lord of the Rings, though, just a completely different tone. I think that's why the Hobbit movies get such a bad rap, is because people were expecting Lord of the Rings when Peter Jackson's like, no, I'm adapting a children's story.
Right.
So yes, it's going to be kind of cartoony and over the top because that's what that was. They're completely different tones and written for completely different audiences. So with
and
this
one of the two
show,
Radagast fits in, and the other he doesn't.
He does not. Right. So comparing the two, those two trilogies, I don't think is apples and oranges in my mind. But this show is clearly trying to take itself very seriously.
Yeah.
There are very serious moments. They're trying, I guess, to tackle serious issues, trying to develop serious characters. So take them seriously. And I think it's just a product of bad writing. Like, they don't know what to say. They're filling screen time.
Right.
They got 5 seasons to fill, and they have no story to work with. They don't have the Silmarillion. They have the appendices, and that's it. So
Right.
they got to make this crap up.
And the appendices are effectively a history text, like dry as a bone. Like there's no you don't have dialogue. You don't have anything that you're working with like you would have in the original trilogy, or even The Hobbit for that matter.
Which is why I think they seem to be struggling with like what this story is. Like it seems to be just Galadriel saying Sauron's a thing, and everybody going, nah, it's fine. Which is a tale as old as time and kind of boring in my mind. But I think it's just bad writing was a thing that just kept coming in my mind. The dialogue just was like, what are they talking about?
Wasn't fitting what you were looking for.
No, like it felt like I wrote down in episode. No, man, it was episode 1. Ren Fair writing.
Okay. Yeah, I gotcha.
Like they were talking like you would overhear some of the players at the Ren Fair talking to each other. Like, when they're not doing a play, they're kind of like LARPing around. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what like the Harfoots sound like. Arondir and the humans, some of that interaction. I'm like, am I at the Ren Fair, dude?
Right.
Like this is what bad writers think this dialogue should sound like. It's not.
I guess the other thing is like, I get where you're coming from with that, and again, one of those things that you can't unsee once you see or hear in this case. Yeah. Do you think it's something that that the showrunners are affecting because not everyone is, well versed in it, or like, they know who the only Lord of the Rings they know is from the Jackson trilogy or any of that. Like, do you think they're I guess maybe some of the depth will come as the progression comes, as the season progresses, whereas this first was kind of like a throw it out there?
I think this is exactly what the whole thing is going to be. I don't think they actually immerse themselves in Tolkien at all, or at least what I saw certainly doesn't seem to be. And I understand, like, story and character wise, they had their hands tied, but you can still be in the spirit of him, and that's not what this is. It's hard. It's really hard to write like that. We're talking about the professor, dude. Like, of course, it's hard to write like that and have dialogue like that and to be able to adapt that. Peter Jackson had the books. He was able to pull direct quotes and plop them right in. So when you're watching the movie, you're like, wow. Like how, like that exchange is so good. well, yeah, because some of it is just literal dialogue from the book. They didn't have that luxury. But you could still write compelling characters, and you could make me you could at least do something to make me like your main character, Galadriel, which at the end of the first episode, I was like, ew. Like I wasn't drawn to her. I didn't particularly understand what this whole like my brother Finrod's mission was to find Sauron and we didn't, and then it's on me and me alone. Like so
Right.
like the other thousands of elves were just like, yep, oh well, who cares? Like, but I alone will take up this mission, and then just like she's pressing forward and forward and forward, and hundreds of years are going by, and nobody's. And I was like,
Randomly jumping off a boat on
yeah.
the way to the Grey Havens.
I wrote that down instantly. Like, I thought, I'm like, all right, well, obviously she doesn't go. I'm like, oh, okay, she's on the boat, so she's gonna have to jump off at some point. So I'm
Right.
assuming like, I'm like, she got all the way to like.
Oh yeah, you're seeing the light, and like then you just
1,000 miles.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, that was last night when I wrote some notes down. I was like, how does she get recovered? Like where? Like,
Again.
What? So
that's just the characters in TV shows can only be as smart as the people who are writing them. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is why I kept writing down, writing. Just, like, at one point, I want to keep harping on this writing thing because, who is it? Gil-galad says to Elrond, have you heard of the works of, like, legitimately asking him basically, have you ever heard of Celebrimbor?
Right.
And Elrond's like, oh, like clearly just so he can tell the audience who Celebrimbor is.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason that question exists, and it's like, it instantly just sucked me right out of it yet again. And like, of course Elrond knows who Celebrimbor is, dude.
But now
He's
look at the flip side of it. If I guess when my wife inevitably watches these,
yeah,
when she hears that question, that Celebrimbor is going to stick in her head.
mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if, yes, there's some really stupidity happening, writing wise. Like I now that you're saying it, I'm seeing it, which is very. And I'm actually after this, I'm going to go back and I don't know if I'll watch episode 1, but I'm definitely finishing up episode 2.
Yeah, keep your ear out for it.
But yeah, I will be curious if we went back and had this conversation in at the end of this season, and if you want, like, we can definitely come back at the end of the season because I'm sure no matter the faults, you're still going to watch it.
I'm going to watch this season.
Right,
I'll
much like me
season.
with like Wheel of Time. I think you heard Erwin and I rant about that enough of where that was really not good, but I still had to watch it.
Yeah, and if they come out with a season 2, I'm not going to watch it.
If it doesn't turn around type thing.
Yeah,
I know you're not holding your breath, but
no, and honestly, like, just from all the trailers for this show, I was kind of like, why is she wearing all that armor? That's not who Galadriel is. Like, what's going on? What are they doing to her? No, please. I wrote down another one. Oh, she says to a guy when they're about to fight the ice troll, like, the evil in here is so
I can
strong.
feel it,
Our torches give off no warmth. Our fire gives no warmth. I'm like,
yeah, that one. That's one that caught me.
That's somebody in the writer's room going, like, proud of that. They're gonna go, look at this.
Yep.
She's gonna say that, and they're gonna go, that's gonna catch people, and people are gonna think that's really good. That was, the guy was making really solid points to Galadriel, and she just ignores him on the top of the mountain. He's like, dude, we've been looking for hundreds of years with no. The last orc we saw was years ago, and you're dragging people through the, like, what is this? Like, we should be going home.
Yeah.
And not only that, we find out later she's been ordered home, and they know that. And he's making all these valid points, and she just goes, keep moving.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
Now, at the same time, I think they're trying to set it up so that you don't like or don't understand Galadriel coming out of this. So, again, I'm kind of waiting to see where it goes.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
I'm with you on that. But I definitely, when she dove off the boat, I was like, huh, okay.
Like,
I was
alright,
expecting some resolution around there, but
yeah.
no. Meteor Man?
If that is any of the wizards, I'm out. I will stop watching. Absolutely ridiculous. It can't be. They didn't
And
arrive in
why,
Middle
though?
Earth until the Third Age. Is the Istari, the five Istari, landed in Middle Earth in the Third Age. Um, so Gandalf can't show up. If it is indeed him, we don't know who it is. Um, but if it is, like,
Are you 100% sure on that?
yes.
Really? For some
Google
reason
it.
in my brain, I was like thinking.
I mean, I
Yeah.
was 100% sure until you question it. Now I'm 98% sure. Of course, I can be wrong. But I'm pretty sure they arrived at the Third Age.
Two of the Maiar came in the around TA 1000. I don't know what that translates to.
No, the Istari.
Yeah, I'm working through it.
Okay.
Two blue wizards, apparently no name. Blah blah blah. I know that. Yeah, no idea.
When did the wizards arrive in Middle Earth?
How is the Googles? The one wiki to rule them all is failing me. So. There's an entire chapter in Unfinished Tales that I could go grab and thumb through, but I don't think that's really good audio.
Gandalf's. I just found a quick thing. When did the wizard? Gandalf arrives in Middle Earth around the 10th century of the Third Age, which is what I think. TA 1000 was the 10th century. What TA? Oh, Third Age. TA. Third Age.
That would make sense.
1000. Yeah. Arrival of the Order in Middle Earth around Third Age, 10th. Yeah. 10th century, the Third Age is when they all. And Gandalf was the last one. He was the last of the five.
Yep.
He didn't want to come, or something like that.
Yeah, I remember. It's one of those where I like vaguely remember reading something.
Yeah.
Like I think, yeah, Unfinished Tales, The Lost Road. There's a lot of shit that I've read that I don't remember. It was a while ago.
It's so easy to forget what the hell you're reading.
If you don't reread it yearly, it's like it goes quick.
Yep.
You remember the cliff notes, and that's about it.
My last note of episode 1 was jumping off the boat, please. And then, are you familiar with Celebrimbor? Lol. Yes,
so
I'm familiar with Celebrimbor.
Let's see. Yeah, I went with, so she dives off the ship in the middle of the ocean. Seems totally normal.
Yep.
And also, very fortunate lighting on Meteor Man. I did also dislike that they buried the Khazad-dûm lead on me. Like, I just wanted to see Khazad-dûm.
Oh yeah.
In its full glory.
2. Actually, yeah. I paused episode 2 so we could come do this because we were just going to do episode 1. Right when it's a shot of Elrond having like that oh my god face when he's looking at it, but the camera didn't even pan, and I paused it and came upstairs. I do want to see it. I do want to see it because the initial shots from the trailers look pretty cool. I like there's water flowing. It's like green. There's sunlight coming in, so there's some plants in there, which makes logical sense to me. I'm fine with that. I don't know of any kind of lore discrepancies there. Shockingly.
I did note that the Arondir story had some legs to it. Like I seem to at least like that they set up some kind for a character that has no background or no nothing. Mm-hmm. At least it's a story. Like it's not just they're bringing him in and immediately throwing him into, like they're setting up some conflict between the elves and men.
I like it being a grounded village level story as opposed to Gil-galad, the High King of Elves, like more of a top down. This is more of a bottom up.
Yep.
Story, which I enjoy. I like being at the ground level in Middle Earth is fun and cool. I like that. Again, just some of the writing is a little wonky for me. Like, I got to go down that hole, but you don't know what's there. That's why I have to go.
Right.
Huh? No. Mm-hmm. Dumb decisions. Stop making dumb decisions. I would love to see a television show where people are making making smart decisions, or at the very least making decisions that make sense to them.
Right. Even if dumb, if there's a rationale.
what's not helping the Rings of Power for me right now is the fact that I binged Arcane over the past 2 days or 2 or 3 days. I couldn't. I think last night I watched, or 2 nights ago I watched like five in a row. It was so awesome. Um, Talk about writing like strong, compelling, great female characters. These writers should have gone and watched Arcane and been like, "There you go."
That's the one
Instead,
based off of League of Legends.
yes, it is so. It is, yeah, but like I don't know anything about League of Legends. I
Oh
never
yeah,
played it.
no, but
I have no idea. I know they have like they've been developing this rich lore and world, and they got an MMO coming out probably in like who knows
hmm,
5 years,
weird.
but so they're fleshing that out a lot. But this is just like a small sliver of it, from what I understand. But fantastic. Oh my God, it was so
Nice.
good.
May have to
Um,
add that to the 7 mile long list of things I need to watch or read.
I would. They're 40 minute, nine episodes, 40 minutes apiece, and like it's just great, compelling to the end. Great characters, every one of them. They all make decisions that make sense for their character, and wherever it takes them, you know what I mean. And it's good storytelling.
And this is now the
The
Arcane Instant Reactions podcast. Uh,
yes, yes. Sorry. Anywho,
we've just
uh,
shifted over.
yeah.
Um,
I did write down that the snow troll fight was absolutely ridiculous. Like, not one arrow was fired by a troop of 11 elves. Okay,
that all had bows on their back.
that all had bows on their back. The one guy, or no, two or three of them got it out, and then they were instantly crushed. But again, it's all these decisions where I'm like, where's the budget?
Right.
Why couldn't that have happened? Like, clearly, it was just cheaper to have one person fight it. Galadriel, nobody hit it. Nobody even touched it. There was one assist with the guy doing the terrible wire work where he throws her with the sword. Cringe.
The
But I cringe at the Legolas stuff in Lord of the Rings too. Um,
I did call it the
in the
fastball
second and third.
special on
Yeah.
my note sheet. I was
Did
like,
you?
it's a
That's exactly what it was.
yeah, it's
Galadriel
it
fastball special.
might have been Colossus and Wolvie. I don't know, but
That I would see. That's lore accurate. But it was again, it was just another one of those moments where I was like, where is the $1 billion or half a billion dollars, whatever
right,
the heck it was. It was
large sums of money.
250. I know it wasn't literally $1 billion to make the show. A quarter of it just got the rights.
Right.
But
It was like a quarter of it in the rights, and then the other,
I think it was like 485 to make the show or something like that.
right, or that's what they've allotted for the 5 seasons or something. Yeah.
Right.
Um.
Oh,
Oh, the one thing I do want to say is I did, for some like the video gamer in me was like mildly squeeing when they're standing on one of the towers from Shadows of War or Shadows of Mordor.
that was cool, and I did notice that.
I was like,
That was
oh,
sweet.
I've seen this view before.
Yes. Yep. Those are games I didn't give enough time and attention to, but I did recognize it. So that was cool. There were a few little like
If you wait, hold on. If you're a lore nut,
yes.
then don't play those games because they're
No, I know.
definitively not lore accurate,
No, God no.
or at least go in with expectations.
Yeah. There were definitely a few little like odes to the Jackson movies where some people had some lines that were like directly from. I didn't actually have time to write down the quotes, but I did notice that, and I didn't. I thought I was gonna hate that, and because I felt like it was coming, and every time it happened 2 or 3 times,
Yep.
and I was fine with it. I was like, oh, kind of nice. I don't know why. I just did like it. I don't want to completely crap all over it the entire time. I did write down four things in my good column, even though the columns kept going
So,
in the other
so the
direction.
first 29 minutes.
Yeah. I did think there was some good cinematography in there if you could find it. There's a scene with um, Galadriel and Elrond where there's just some really good frames that almost look like paintings. There's a direct top-down shot of Elrond and Galadriel as she spins to speak to him,
Mhm.
and her like cloak, her that like navy blue cloak kind of comes in behind her, and there's the yellow leaves on it, and there's like like a cliff or waterfall or something on the right, but like they just held that shot for a second, and that was actually really cool. I wanted to write that down. There was a few of those in there where you're like, oh, who somebody
Right, like
knew
there's
what
some
they were doing up
promise in
there.
here. It's
Yeah, like
just you
somebody
got to
did
find it.
something pretty cool in there. That was nice. I liked that. I did enjoy the map. I thought the
The
map
map
was cool.
intro
Like,
thing.
hey,
Yep.
well, no, like throughout the
Right.
episode,
Yeah.
we were
No.
like,
The
hey, we're
like
going
intro to
here
each
now.
part. Yeah.
Yes. In that sense, yes, I did like that. And like when they went from Eregion to uh, Casa Doom in the second episode. I don't know if you caught this or well, you'll see it in a second.
Yep.
They do like the Indiana Jones kind of
Oh,
like
okay.
dot.
Yeah.
They do like a little dot. Hey, we're going from here to here. I appreciate that. I like that a lot. I think like some people know where these places are, but there's going to be a ton of people who do not. So just orienting them in that way, I think is really nice. Although they could keep the map just kind of, they should keep it true north.
Static. Yeah.
They keep doing this
They do.
and then going south, and it's like the Southlands, but it's like on the screen we just went northeast, but you because they rotated the map in a weird way, just keep it here and pan to it so people know what direction you're going. What are the good stuff that I write? I wrote that down. I dug the map thing. I liked them. Some of the music was good. It was reminiscent of some, I think to your point, some of the Jackson stuff. I don't know if they got the same person.
So Shore wrote the theme, like the
Okay.
main title, and
Okay.
then Bear McCreary wrote the rest.
All
So
right.
he's worked on a bunch of stuff. But yeah.
I was worried with the song they had over the last trailer they released. Just sounded like the newest Tegan and Sarah single or something,
Mm.
which I love Tegan and Sarah. I love listening to them. My wife loves them. They're great music. But I don't want it
It
dubbed over
doesn't
with
quite.
my Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
trailer. It's I was like
We don't need Tolkien
very
and Sarah.
nervous. No, we don't. Bing, good one. Um, so getting into the show and listening to the music that's in the show, I was actually relieved. It's very, it has the weight, and I liked the scene on the boat when they were going into Valinor. The singing.
Right. I
Um,
feel like that scene, everything outside of her randomly jumping off
yeah,
worked
she
well.
shouldn't have
Like
gotten on right.
even
Like
even the way she was torn, I thought they depicted that well. I thought it was a dumb idea in general. Like do this
right,
before
like
you
we
get on the
shouldn't be
boat.
filming. Yeah, we shouldn't be filming any of this. But like they clearly wanted a
Right.
shot of going to Valinor, so they're like, well, if she gets on, and then she can just get right back off. So it's like, well, what
Right.
are we doing here? They wanted that shot. I feel like they started with the idea of the elves on a boat singing,
Yeah.
and they were like, why would that even be in this show? Oh, I know. Let's have her go. Like they get awarded, to go there or
Right.
whatever. Which I don't know if that's how that actually worked.
Couldn't
Um,
tell you.
like it would like there was a lottery system or something.
Yeah.
Like like the Hunger Games, like there's drawing names. Oh,
You get a boat and you get a
yeah,
boat.
you get a boat.
The
But
elvish
I did
elven
like that.
Oprah. Elven
That
Oprah
that
just starts
felt
handing them out.
yes, that felt Tolkienian to me.
Yeah,
Um,
and that like again, I for all the things you're saying, I think and I think I felt differently about the show in general than you did, as far as from the critical lens. Now that
yeah,
you're pointing out a lot of this stuff, but it's like a lot of the decisions they made, what they did with them was good as far as filming and cinematography or whatever. I feel like
hmm
now that we're talking, like some of the choices were questionable, but like with
yeah,
that, I thought it was a really good scene. I questioned after the fact why they did it, but I thought it was well done.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they executed very well on a bad plan.
Okay. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
I can get with you on that.
Harfoot. Like there's a lot of bad decisions.
I thought
Like
the
you got to
initial Harfoot scene was great.
again, the tone. Like there's just like what are they doing here? Like it's a completely different tone and shift, which is what I think
Well, tone and shift from what though?
being like it's just not serious. Like the in the Jackson trilogy you have like um a long expected party,
Right.
which is basically this, like the Hartford, like pa pa pa, it's a party. It's very light, and then it gets very serious, and then it is serious. Even when they get to rest and relax in Rivendell and stuff, it is dead serious. Um, this constant back and forth. I think it went from like it was maybe 2 minutes
Yeah.
from the Harfoots and being like laughy jokey to like Arondir looking at a slaughtered sheep and blood and guts all over the place in the mud, and I'm like, whoa, like where are we? What are we
Right.
doing? Um,
Well, and then you get the warg with no payoff.
yeah,
I was like, there's a whole like, why do we have this whole scene in here where they see a warg and go home, but then there's
right,
nothing that happens, and
yeah.
okay,
That's a
and then a
product
meteor
of
lands.
yeah, that's a product of um, streaming. Streaming
Mm,
television, they know you're going to binge it. They know you're going to watch the next one or the next one,
yep.
like so there's no resolution at the end of every episode. It just literally ends. And you're like,
Right.
okay.
Guess
No,
I'll see the next one.
yeah, I guess I have to watch the next one or I'm just like whatever.
Well, and I don't know if
Um,
you've been watching She-Hulk at
I
all.
watched the first one and I was done.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
no. That show is clearly not for me.
Yeah.
I don't think it was not written for me.
All
Like, okay.
right.
There's this I think it's intended for a very different audience and I'm not that and I was like I don't know what this. I don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah.
I have no um, connection to it. Like
Right.
I'm just here to watch. I want to see the Hulk. The Hulk is my favorite character. Love the Hulk.
Now, had you ever
But
read any She-Hulk or had any background on it or any of that?
none. No.
Okay.
None. So
So it
again,
hits very true to how she's been written since the
right.
late 80s. Um,
Yeah, that I'm aware
very
of that.
light,
I know like she
very
breaks the fourth wall and stuff like that, kind of
yeah.
Deadpool-y. Like she'll look into
She
the
was
frame and
Deadpool
stuff.
before Deadpool.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Before Deadpool started breaking the fourth wall, She-Hulk had already been doing it for years.
I didn't know that. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And she
That's awesome.
like it fits very well with her character.
Hmm.
But yeah, I get if you don't, if it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit.
Yeah, just I have just not been interested in Phase 4 much, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
a lot of it's
This
been
is
kind of
one of the ones that's landed more with me. Like this and actually this and Ms. Marvel have
Rings
been
of
just
Power.
and I
Or
think just because
She-Hulk.
they're different, like
Hmm.
it's not the same rote, like yeah, it's not the same thing
Yeah.
over and over, and I was getting burnt out on the same thing over and over.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
but
those shows like this one, they all feel formulaic to me. They feel like like a CW soap opera. Like
right.
they're writing it because they want 10 seasons out of this and they just want to keep going and keep going and keep going.
Hmm.
And no one's going to take a risk. Nothing bad is ever going to happen to our main characters. It's all going to work out. Don't worry, you know.
Now, to
Um,
be fair, that's a relatively Tolkien thing. Like through the entirety of Lord of the Rings, how many of our main characters actually have anything go wrong?
which yeah, sure. They have a
So
pretty solid plot on her.
yeah. If you're named right off the bat, you're gonna
Yep.
survive.
Yep.
But well, and I guess that kind of brings me to another question.
Except in the
Um,
Hobbit. The Hobbit is where we actually lose a
yeah,
couple.
yeah, yeah. A little
Interesting.
some
Interesting.
the lighter fare is where the more deep stuff happens. Um,
Interesting.
the comparisons have been made for since they announced it. I didn't get a Game of Thrones feel, which I feel like I liked.
No, not at
Um,
all.
so it was for all the like the faults of like what you're saying, where it didn't feel Tolkien. It definitely didn't try and lean and grab that Game of Thrones audience. It felt like its unique thing, at least.
Yeah, I tried. I knew going in that a lot of the like it's not going to be very lore accurate. Like
Right.
it's
There's
just
only
not.
so much you can do when you've
There's a
got to
lot of
create it
characters in
all.
there that are not in the books. There's a lot of things and people are going to interact who've never met.
Yep.
Things are going to happen. This takes place over 1,000 years so I was like, let me try to watch this even pretending like take away all the stuff I said in the beginning. Like it's not Tolkien. It doesn't have the tone. It's all over the
Right.
place tone with its tonality. It's they aren't treating the elves in the way that I think they should be portrayed. Certainly at this time period. Um, okay, let's throw all that out. Forget it.
Yep.
Let's try to wipe the Tolkien filter out and just watch it as a fantasy show. This is just like a high fantasy show.
Yep.
We play D&D together. We love fantasy.
Hmm.
Um, even I still can't get past like even that I can't get past I couldn't get past the writing stuff, the bad visual stuff on like just sound screen, bad storytelling, like dumb decisions made by supposedly smart people.
Right.
Um, like Elrond says to Galadriel at some point when they're talking about Sauron and somebody, and Elrond says, "This enemy," and he does this with his face, like it's ethereal, like like some
Right.
enemy that you keep talking about, and it's like Elrond, you know exactly who
You
she's
were
talking
there.
about. You were there. You know who she's talking about. This is very real. At no point would these people not be taking her seriously.
Yeah.
So to try to tell me that that's how this would all go down, I couldn't swallow that pill. I just couldn't do it. But again, that's with my Tolkien hat on. So even then, I think I would have enjoyed it more if they were just like, we're gonna make our own fantasy show inspired by the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, in the point that like there'll be elves and stuff like that with this character named Beladriel and blah blah blah. And like, okay, we're gonna do our own spin on it. We're gonna make it like a fantasy thing. But if you tell me it's Tolkien, that's how I have to criticize it in that way. If you're trying to be like, nope, this is the Rings of Power from in the showrunners talking about the books. There was that famous interview they did where there was a bunch of cast members and them on stage with Stephen Colbert, and he's like, how did you? I don't know what the question was, but the quote from them was just like, the books. Go back to the books. Go back to the books, or whatever. And it's like, I don't know if they owned them, let alone went back to them. But yeah, there was some good stuff, but overall, I think it's obvious by now. I just wasn't actually impressed. I'll watch the next one. We'll see how it goes, and then I don't know when are the next. So they're doing these two
Thursdays,
and then one every Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I keep going. I don't know if I will. I think it's going to be one of those things where I am not going to watch it every Thursday. There's no way I'm going to actually like carve out time for it. It'll be one of those.
See, and
things
it's
where I'm
funny
like,
because
I've got an afternoon. Let me see if this got any better. Nope. Click.
Huh. See,
really
and it's
don't
funny,
think so.
going into this cast, I did not expect any of this from you. So I
didn't expect any of it watching.
Right. That's why I'm kind of like at a loss, because I think I enjoyed it significantly. Well, I know I enjoyed it significantly more than you seem to have.
Yeah, I think, yeah, probably. I mean, I will end up watching the whole thing. I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not. My point is, I'm not going to set aside my time on Thursday night to be like, oh, Rings of Power's out. It's going to be one of those things where I just kind of find some time and I will throw it on, and I'll be looking at my phone the whole time, being like, oh wow, that never happened, or whatever. Maybe I'm too Tolkienian. But I understand. I think you were starting to make the point earlier. I probably cut you off, but about explaining who Celebrimbor is and stuff like that. Like, I just don't know if that's the right strategy for making a good television show. Like,
Right.
how many times can you point to a TV show that like did all the exposition in the world and explained everything to the audience, and that made it a better TV show, as opposed to things like the example I always like to give, even though I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, is and you'll know it, is when they're talking about the Millennium Falcon and somebody said something about like it did the something run in 10
Kessel Run in 12 parsecs.
What the hell is that? I don't know. I just know it's awesome. Nobody.
Well,
had to
George
then
didn't
take
even
an
know because, well,
Yeah, exactly.
he screwed it up.
because
Who
cares? But like the point is, like at the moment when that happened, and you're sitting in the theater, they didn't then take 3 minutes to explain what that run is and like how fast that is. Like,
But
you don't
they
need to
didn't
tell
with
me
this
any of
either.
that.
And we actually had in the chat
The
Darius
greatest blah, blah, blah of our age. Blah, blah, blah.
Darius Stone's kind of he's actually come in with a couple of good comments that we missed along the conversation, but he said he really enjoyed it. Lots of lore breaking stuff as expected, but he thought it held true to the main theme of Tolkien about morality or mortality, and then followed it up with Celebrimbor was one of the most accurate descriptions from the book, which I would say one of the few things we actually had descriptions from the books, but
Yeah.
But I guess to your point there, like most people, like that was one throwaway line. Like it wasn't like it was 3 minutes of exposition. It was one throwaway
No.
line of, "Do you know Celebrimbor?"
Yeah.
And most of the people watching, like literally most of the people watching this, are going to have no clue who the hell he is or what significance he played in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Whereas we do. So the exposition of him saying that, like, he, I don't know. I guess it didn't bother me as much just because
Yeah.
I thought, okay, they're throwing that out there for people who haven't had any of the background.
No, I agree.
And I think I got that with a
I
lot of
totally
this
get that.
episode.
I
And I'm
think there's
curious what season
there's
or episode 2 will get with
yeah, same.
like if they move away from the exposition and pushing it towards uh like just moving on with the story and not all the setting up, because the first episode seemed very setty uppy, for lack of a better description, and that's of course the
Hmm.
technical term is setty uppy.
You
But
can look it up.
yeah, it's Google it, it's fine.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's uh
Yeah,
it's
I
gonna
don't
be
mind
interesting.
that. Like I said, it wasn't completely like again, I wrote down a thousand things in here. It's I'm not saying I'm not going to sink the whole show because they told us who Celebrimbor was, but there's ways to show us who people are in meaningful and impactful ways that help you endear yourself to a character better than when I'm just
Right.
told who somebody is. Um, and I think it helps people who don't know who those characters are better understand who they are if you take the time to show me who this person is in other ways than
Right.
through that.
So
Did you
another
say
question
somebody
from the
made a
chat
comment
though.
about? Oh, okay. I wanted to
Uh
touch on the mortality thing when we get a chance to, because
okay.
I
Yeah,
don't want to
absolutely.
go over
Um
that.
is it better or not to know the fate of Celebrimbor or not while watching the show? Cuz I personally would say not knowing what happens is probably going to be even better.
Yeah, I think being in the state of not knowing is typically always better, because when you
Yeah,
know, you can only be let down.
true.
So like not
See
knowing is like
see what you've ranted about for the last 40 minutes.
yeah. uh, I think not knowing is definitely better
Yeah.
because you can relive the surprise for the first time. How many times would anybody want to go back and be like, oh, I wish I could watch that again for the first time?
Right.
Because you can still appreciate stuff, but you can never appreciate stuff like you can like you see it when
Right.
you see it.
The like I'm actually living vicariously through my son at some point in the near future when
Oh, of course.
he's seen A New Hope, but when he
Hmm.
sees Empire Strikes Back, I will be living vicariously through him, just watching what his reaction to "I am
Oh
your
hell yeah,
father" or yeah, no, "I am your father" is.
yeah, and like not spoiling that and trying to make
Right.
sure like he
Oh,
doesn't find
dude,
out about
he's
that.
obsessed with Star Wars, and I've somehow I've made it clear to my wife that the last page of his little golden book of Empire Strikes Back is not to be read.
Yeah,
It's been 5 years and he's never seen it, so we're still intact.
rip it right out. Yeah.
Oh, he knows all sorts of like stuff that should have been reveals from the movies because somebody bought
Oh,
us
that's
like
funny.
the whole 9 books in little golden book,
Hmm.
and he of course wanted to read them. So now we've progressed to reading like a Star Wars encyclopedia every day. Like a Lego Star Wars encyclopedia is our nighttime reading. I was
That's
like,
awesome.
how okay, cool. Like if that's
Yep.
what you want to read, more power to you. But like, yeah, you're right. I think always not knowing is the better option.
Hmm. I would agree. Um,
What were you saying about the mortality? Oops, sorry.
yeah, I
I don't know
think
if that came through.
the comment was that I just made a note about mortality. I don't know if I'm actually commenting on the comment or not, but
Yeah.
I made a note in the opening sequence when Finrod tells Galadriel, "I might not always be here, to tell you these things or whatever." I instantly thought like that is such a weird thing for an immortal person to think.
Yeah.
Like, why would he say that? And it was again just one of these examples of uh, like the writers know what's going to happen to him, but like are they trying to foreshadow something for us? Like I know what happens to him, but he doesn't. So like why would he ever think that and say that to his little sister? The time was very weird. Like it was difficult for me to keep, especially um in the opening sequence of them chasing down Sauron and they're in the frozen wastes and stuff. It was like we've been chasing him for 100 years. We haven't seen an orc in a couple of years, and then it's been months since we've done this, and I'm like, what is going on? Like,
Right.
what is happening? It was very difficult for me to really figure out what they were trying to tell me about that whole thing. Like, should I care about how long? Like, I'm kind of with them. I'm like, yeah, you give up at that point. Like, you're not gonna find them out here. If you haven't seen Sign in years, it would make sense to be like, all right, let's go home and try something else.
Right.
But
how about the cold open with young Galadriel and Finrod and the other elf?
In the kids?
Yeah.
Talk about taking me out of what it is to be elvish. Like, there's just bullies now. Like, we're just gonna bully this little kid. I'm like, what is this? It felt so modern to me. Like, oh, this poor kid getting bullied by her friends. I'm like, this again. It didn't feel. It felt very much like sucking our world into this one and not taking me to a different place. I guess is the most concise way I can say it. I didn't like it. Obviously.
Right.
The paper boat was cool. I mean, though physically impossible. Sweet.
Well, you know.
I say that. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. But that was pretty cool. I was like, it's gonna. She goes, it's
talk to
gonna
Erwin.
sail.
Talk to Erwin. He's the master of the paper boat. Paper boat races.
Yeah. Never say something's impossible in front of him. He'll make it for you the next day. But no, I
also true.
Just the bullying thing, again, felt like writers bringing our world into Middle Earth, and that's not what I want. I want to go to Middle Earth. I want to know what it's like there. I don't want to see just kids just like and what was that accomplishing? Like, why did that scene happen? So we could have the rock metaphor thing, which barely made sense in the first place. Like,
you said that at first, and all I could think of was Dwayne Johnson. I think that's a different rock.
So we can watch rock memes?
Dwayne Johnson shows up in Middle Earth. He's the next Meteor Man that comes in.
He better not be. Black Adam.
Yep.
Just rolls into every gap.
Full cape and everything. Yep.
Sure. Why not?
It's a promo, man.
It would be something.
Oh, yeah.
It would be something. Season 2. Here we come.
So, yeah. No, I guess, I don't know if you've got any closing thoughts or anything else you wanted to talk or rant about. We should probably, we're going close to an hour, so.
Are we really?
Yeah, 52 minutes, man.
All right. No, I think I'm gonna watch episode 2 shortly. I'm excited to see the dwarves. I've heard the dwarves are cool. Okay. So we'll see what goes on there. I hope it gets better, but the same writers wrote the rest of the episodes that wrote this one, and it's the same people who made the whole thing. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not optimistic. I think I think every episode is just going to be kind of like this. It's going to be very CW soap opera type stuff with some cool stuff sprinkled in there, and then like just enough.
Yeah, just enough to keep you.
I think I just don't know why they're making it. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, why spend that much money on so little to be able to make this?
Well, when you've got Bezos bucks, you just spend them.
Yeah, but somebody just actually bought the rights to the books and the Hobbit and the Silmarillion and all that, didn't they? For like $2 billion or something insane. Like 2 weeks.
Oh,
ago.
really? Oh, yeah. Boy.
So some media company just bought like the rights that you actually want, so you can actually make good TV shows or good movies.
Oh, Weta. Apparently, Weta did.
Themselves? I don't know if that's right.
That's what you just got from the chat. So we may have to look into that, but
look into that chat.
Said Weta Workshops did
I don't
that.
Trust chat. I don't trust chat.
I don't know. Chat's been pretty good so far.
I don't know.
The other point was how are you gonna have Elrond and not make out that his dad saved the world and his brother started Numenor? maybe that's coming, maybe that's forthcoming, but it's burying the lead a little. Like, this is not a random elf. He's kind of a big deal.
No, they treat him like just a guy. Oh, he's a politician.
Right.
Huh? Is he?
Oh, that was the rights for the games.
He doesn't know who Celebrimbor is.
Weta bought the rights for the games.
There you go. Yeah, they didn't buy the license for the actual prop, the IP. Somebody bought like the IP for the books and all that. Yep. I'm still waiting for that next gen Lord of the Rings MMO, dude.
That'd be nice.
Next gen.
Lord of the Rings online is not doesn't quite hold up at this juncture, but
it's still going.
Yeah,
it won't die.
It's like that and WoW. Just that WoW and the Old Republic just can't die.
Can't kill them. It's just hanging around.
It's amazing. Yeah. Solid IPs. Hold on. Weird.
Interesting.
Go figure.
Yeah. Huh.
Oh, Darius, we touched on the Stranger earlier, and we're very.
I'll be mad. I'll be stark raving mad.
If it's the Astari, we're not in the happy campers.
That would be a power off if they imply that is any of the Astari.
I feel like it would be let me rephrase this. I feel like it would be good from a story standpoint for this show. I feel like to be remotely tied to the lore, it would not be. Mm-hmm. I feel like it would be very cool to see that happen, but also not here.
Again, it feels like a bad decision made by people who don't really understand the lore. Like, what do people? It's a mass marketing decision. People like wizards. People like hobbits. Put them in there. Oh, sir, they didn't actually exist until the nerd comes in like me, pushes up his actually, they didn't. Even get out! I don't give a shit. Put them in.
Okay.
People like hobbits. Well, there weren't any hobbits. Call them Harfoots. Okay.
I mean, the Harfoots
make sure
were a thing
they're dirty
back then.
the whole time. They don't clean themselves.
The proto-hobbits, that was a thing.
All right. Proto-hobbits?
Yeah, the Harfoots were a thing. They didn't just make that one up. Trust me on that.
All right. I know they weren't made up whole cloth, but like, they didn't do anything in the Second Age.
They haven't done anything yet in the show. Except find Gandalf.
Well, they... blood pressure's already boiling.
Oh god. On that note, I think we're gonna probably call it and let Collin go have a beer and relax. Yeah, but thanks for tuning in, anyone. Thanks for everybody in the chat interacting. And oh god. Yeah, Darius in the chat just said 100% that they settle in the Shire in the last episode. Like season 5, episode 10 is gonna be them settling in the shower.
They're gonna start digging a hole and be like, this could be cool.
Yeah.
Why don't we live in here?
So, yeah, anyone who's watching, feel free to follow us on Twitch. If you're hearing this on your podcatcher of choice, feel free to like, subscribe, leave us a review. Always helps us out. We're normally here 9:30 on Sundays doing our weekly recap show. We also do some instant reactions from some of these major shows. It was good to get Collin on and showing what we had for Lord of the Rings. A lot better than the 5-minute episode I gave you yesterday of me talking to myself, which doesn't work out well. We found that out. So, we're learning. But
I'm listening to that.
Yeah. Like what did he think?
What are you talking about?
God, him again. Great. So, yeah. No, if Collin, anything else from your end?
I'll give it a chance.
All right. That's all we can ask for. So, yeah, feel free to reach out on the socials, the Multiverse Report, just about everywhere. And, yeah, as Mike would say, we'll see you around the multiverse.